Hello. I've been working with some schools and we have been developing a Google Form walkthrough observation system using the Danielson Framework. And in some of the instances, we had only worked with some of the frameworks. I thought it might be valuable to have the entire framework in a single walkthrough. So I've gone through and built this out using the information from this Danielson website here, um, all four domains and all of the pieces in each of those domains. So I have built out a Danielson framework evaluation. Um, and basically, I've gone through and divided this, split this so that if you choose domain 1, 2, 3, 4, sort of assuming that you don't have time necessarily to do all the four domains in a single observation. So splitting those out. That ends up looking like this. This is where you fill out the form. If I choose domain 1, I end up all of the domain 1 issues. And I've also taken the information that you actually see in the Danielson if you download their framework and get their PDF with all of that information, I'm pulling all of that information. So as the administrator is walking through, they have a reference. It's still very easy just to fill out your scores when you do that. So that's what it looks like to fill that out. If I decided that I wanted to do a different domain, of course, then you'd go to domain 2 and so forth. In playing with this, I've sort of seen that you have to kind of make your decision, fill out your domain, and then if you were still working in that classroom, you would submit another form and summarize that. So after you submit your data, we start to collect the data, of course, in a data sheet, a form responses sheet, as it were. And I'm just collecting all the data. And as you can see, if you're only collecting data for a domain at a time. But then what I've done is taken and disaggregated this data. So I can look at the data by my teachers. At this point, I only have 2 teachers showing up. Hancock's only basically done one walkthrough for Hancock on the domain 1. But if you look at Welch, has a domain walkthrough in domain 1, domain 3, domain 2, and domain 4. And you can see where those which domain is being evaluated. We also are getting an average score for the all of the basically what the average score for that walkthrough, and that happens to be that domain 4 walkthrough. And then over here on the left, we're getting an average. Let's say, and I don't have that as an example, but let's say I did another walkthrough for Tim Welch, and there was another domain 1 walkthrough. These scores would then be averaging what that teacher's getting as a score for all of those pieces. And then I've also broken it out by domain. So here's all of the scores for domain 1, domain 2, and domain 3, and domain 4. So basically what I was trying to achieve here was collect the data on a single sheet, be able to disaggregate all the data for individuals, but also disaggregate for your whole school or your whole district, however you're implementing this, with domain 1, domain 2, domain 3, and domain 4. The Danielson format uses the scale of the scale that we see back here. Unsatisfactory is level 1, basic, proficient, and distinguished. So I'm just using those numbers that are associated with that to do my calculations and my averages, and then the rest of this is conditional formatting. This is just an interesting way to apply this Danielson framework. Many people, I think, have built these out and used them in different ways. What I might have done differently here is give you the ability to very graphically and visually see the data that you are collecting by individual and breaking it out by domain. To further be able to drill down into this data, we are taking the data that we collect from the form and adding it to a data studio project. And because of the size of the form, the number of columns of data on my data studio project, I'm breaking it down onto pages for the domain so that I can see how this works out by domain one, and then I'm breaking it down into all the subdomains so I could look at the data from all of my teachers, and then I can drill down by teacher and see how that counts out for the individual teachers.